You are listening to Get Out of Your Own Way, the podcast about self-sabotage, emotional intelligence, and overcoming our limiting beliefs to pursue the lives we were meant for. My name is Brianna Wiest, and my book on self-sabotage, The Mountain Is You, Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery, will be out in June. Today, we are here to talk about self-care. So, I wrote an article on this a few years ago. I wish I gotta look up the date because I forget the date, but it was a few years ago. And the article itself was, this is what self-care really is, because it's not all salt baths and chocolate cake. It went crazy, wicked viral. To this day, I see kind of like spin-offs of it all of the time on Instagram, on Pinterest. People kind of rewrite it like self-care isn't just like face masks and bath bombs. I don't know. They take the concept, which is kind of par for the course online. I'm so interested by the reaction that people had to this piece, because people were ready for it. People wanted to hear it. People had a reaction that I didn't expect. So what's funny is that I didn't really intend for the piece to be a definitive kind of explanation of what self-care is or isn't. I really didn't. I also enjoy chocolate cake and salt baths at night. You know what I mean? Like, I also enjoy that as a form of self-care. But more what I was trying to address was that in a world that this kind of consumer self-care has become so popular, is a world that is broken in a way that I don't think we realize, and that real self-care is making a life you don't have to escape from. A life where if you want to, enjoy some dessert and a glass of wine and a hot bath to treat yourself, well, it's a way you indulge and enjoy your life, not a way that you decompress because your day to day you are so incredibly unhappy that that's what you have to do. So when it comes to self-sabotage, I really do think that we engage in these self-care behaviors not really as a means of genuinely taking care of ourselves, but recovering from the ways that we aren't taking care of ourselves. So I want to read the first part of the article before I talk about it more. So, self-care is often a very unbeautiful thing. It is making a spreadsheet of your debt and enforcing a morning routine and cooking yourself healthy meals and no longer just running from your problems and calling the distraction a solution. It is often doing the ugliest thing that you have to do, like sweat through another workout or tell a toxic friend you don't want to see them anymore, or get a second job so you can have a savings account, or figure out a way to accept yourself, so that you're not constantly exhausted from trying to be everything all of the time, and then needing to take deliberate mandated breaks from living to do basic things like drop some oil into a bath and read a magazine and turn your phone off for the day. True self-care is not salt baths and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life that you don't regularly need to escape from. And I honestly am still surprised that people resonated with it so strongly, and that another level, it kind of makes sense to me. So I want to talk about, in this case, what real self-care might look like, because it is uncomfortable and it isn't always aesthetically pleasing, and it has more to do really with reparenting yourself. That's really the word that I want to use. Reparenting yourself. It is a way to stop really running from what's wrong and start really looking it straight in the face. And let's get a plan to address what's wrong. I believe healing is possible. I believe change is possible. I believe transformation is possible. But none of it is possible if we're in total denial about it. If we're running ourselves ragged, we're exhausted, we're unhappy, we're drained from spending time with people, eventually we have to start kind of looking at this and thinking, is this healthiest for me? Is this right for me? Is this how I need to be spending my life? A writer that I love and have looked up to for many years, Cheryl Strayed, in one of her columns as Dear Sugar, she told a reader who was facing his own rock bottom that the first step to fixing it was to create what she calls a quote-unquote anatomy of the disaster. And I use this phrase a lot because the anatomy of the disaster is when you take a piece of paper down and you get real with yourself. Exactly what is wrong. We write down every debt. We write down every person that's giving us a problem. We write down every way that our lives are really hurting us, what we are suffering over, what we can't get over. We just get it all out. And when we write down the reality of our lives, the reason we call it an anatomy of a disaster is because on paper it's going to look like a disaster. And because you've been avoiding it for so long, it's going to feel a lot worse than it really is. One day when you've healed a lot of it, changed, you're going to look back on it, because I know I have, and think to yourself, you know what, that actually wasn't that bad. It felt worse in the moment, probably because I was avoiding it for so long. But if I look back, it wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as I was fearing that it was in the moment. But when we really can look at exactly what's wrong, we stop playing whack-a-mole with the symptoms. You know what I mean? We're serial daters, right? We're scared of monogamy. But if we can actually write down on paper, I am absolutely terrified to have my heart broken again. I am absolutely terrified to commit to someone and have the rug pulled out from under me. If we can just even get real about what the problem is, then maybe we can stop hurting all of the people that we're half committing to, solve our own issue, get into the work of healing, and then decide, do I want a long-term relationship? Okay, great, let's pursue one in a healthy way. Or maybe I don't, and that's okay too, but we're never gonna know unless we know what the problem is and whether or not we can actually fix it. So once we have gotten clear on what the real issues are, the next step is we get a plan. Plans solve problems. I love plans. We all need a plan for everything. When we have a plan, a problem becomes a solution. When we sit there and throw our hands up and think, well, I don't know, then it remains a problem. But as soon as you have a plan, the problem goes away. I want you to think about something that you're not afraid of. Maybe it's something that a lot of people are afraid of. I'm not afraid of flying. I like being in airplanes. And I know a lot of people are scared of it, right? They're scared of it because they don't have a plan for what would happen in the worst case scenario. I feel that if, there was some crazy turn of events and I was like in an accident or something, or the plane crash, isn't that what everyone is afraid of? I think to myself, I'm like, I don't know, I guess I would just die. I don't know, what am I gonna do? Never fly, never travel, never go work in other states. You know what I mean? If that's the end, I have an acceptance for that, so I really have a plan for it. Or if you have a plan for, if my relationship ended. Well, I have a plan, I would move here and I would do this and I would do that. And then all of a sudden, the fear of that relationship ending dissolves because you have a plan. Would it still be painful? Yeah, sure. Would it be tragic if something happened on an airplane? I mean, sure. But when you have a plan, it turns a problem and a fear into something you have conquered. So for everything in your life, especially the things you are struggling with, we need a plan. We need a plan to repay the debt. We need a plan to boost your income. We need a plan to find some great friends. We need a plan to confront the ones who are really giving us a problem. We need a plan for how we're going to get out of our current living situation. We need a plan for how we're going to get healthy. We need a day-to-day plan. We cannot just sit here and be like, well, I hope it gets better one day, or if I read enough or do enough inner work, maybe it will get better. But not without a plan, it won't. All of the work that you're doing is setting you up to create a plan to make a change. And a plan is not, well, I'm going to just relax at the end of the day and hopefully my stress will go down. It's no, we need to look toward the source of the stress and fix that. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, okay, so for the biggest problems in my life, my self-esteem, my finances, my relationships, I don't know how to get a plan to fix it, because if I did, I wouldn't have this problem in the first place. True. That's exactly right. If we knew what to do, we wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. So now we start learning. We need to start looking toward the people we can consult if we cannot do it for ourselves. Sometimes if it's a personal issue, you need to look to someone you know and love and trust. Maybe it's a parent, a good friend. And you need to turn to them and say, in this scenario, I don't feel that I can make a good choice for myself. What do I need to do to move my life forward? What do I need to do to get out of the situation? You will find that if it's a person that you really love and trust and has your best interest at heart, they will probably be pretty upfront with you and say, I think you need to get out of this relationship. I think this job is killing you. Look, they see you. They see you all of the time. They know. Maybe you're hiding from yourself, but you're probably not hiding that well from the people around you. They know. They see. They know. So consult them for your personal issues. But there are so many other incredible people in the world who can help. Read books, follow people on Instagram, look up articles. Not even mine, I'm just saying anyone's. Look toward people who can help you. If you have a financial problem, start looking for financial planners, a financial blogger. Do you know what I mean? People who can guide you, people who can give you great information to create a plan. Look toward relationship experts, authors of books that you love and admire. Talk to your grandparents who've been married for 50 years. I've done that. I've looked at my grandparents. I'm like, what is your secret? What do you know? What would you do here? Look toward the people who are where you want to be, because those are the people who have the insight to get you there. My husband and I do that all the time. We're like, we want to be where you are. We want to be happily married in 60 years. What do you know that we don't? What do you know that got you there? So by learning from them, we're creating a plan for our day-to-day lives to eventually get us there. So, okay, we know what the problem is. We have a plan. Now, the last, hardest, most important part is, well, actually, maybe the hardest part was getting real about the problem in the first place. Maybe that was the first big hump to get over, but this is the second hardest part, which is we enact the plan even if we are scared or have doubt. So this is where our faith comes in and our trust. We have a plan to pay back our debt. We have a plan to leave the city. We have a plan to leave our job. And then the fear starts seizing us up. Well, what if it doesn't work out? I feel like I'm not making any progress. I feel like I'm just going to end up back in the same situation all over again. This is where we have to lean into our faith and trust. We have to trust the plan, trust the process, trust people who are wiser than us. We have to trust that the small behaviors that we contribute to every single day will create an outcome so much bigger than we can see right now. And more importantly, it will happen faster than we think it will. When we're stuck, we think it's going to take forever to get out of, the situation that we're in. But when we look back, really look back on the years of your lives. Look back when you thought you were completely stuck and everything was absolutely hopeless. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? It went so fast. It changed so fast. And it changes at super speeds when you have a plan and you continually take steps forward, because what happens is momentum builds. Now, what you do repeatedly is creating momentum. If you are engaging in self-destructive habits again and again and again, day to day to day, it is creating a self-destructive momentum. If you are taking the correct steps on a daily basis to move your life forward, however small they may be, it is creating momentum, and it's going to actually start a feedback loop. You're going to start to crave it. The thing that I always say is you will start to crave what you repeatedly do. So choose wisely. Choose wisely. It's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning, but then after a short amount of time, it's going to just be your normal. It is going to be your normal to be associating with the right people. It's going to be your normal to shut down gossip or drama. It's going to be your normal to be looking at your budget. That's going to be your new life. So the last part is we have to let go of who we were. It is a dramatic way to put it, but it is a death and a rebirth. The way that we make change is by transforming into a person who is in control of their lives. We have to rewrite and reconstruct our identity around being a person who is good with money, who is great at relationships, who has amazing friends, who is on the right track. So long as we try to be our old self, who maybe wasn't good at any of those things, and it's never going to work. We're going to just revert back into who we fundamentally believe we are. We have to honor and thank who we were, because that person got us this far, and then we need to let them go. That person is gone. We are being reborn into someone completely new, someone more fundamentally us than ever before. I do, in some events, a meditation that I call Meeting Your Highest Potential Future Self, which is part of The Mountain Is You. It's in the book, where you literally visualize and conceive of yourself in the future, but your highest potential self. So I believe that we have an infinite number of possibilities of what can transpire going forward. And the patterns and the energy that we have been creating determines the most likely courses that will occur. But they're all technically possible. So we want to connect to the highest potential one. In the best case scenario in the future, who am I? And I first have people connect to really basic facts about that person. What do you look like? What are they saying to you? What are they doing on a day-to-day basis? What wisdom do they have to offer you? So Once we see that highest potential future self, the next thing that I have them do is actually imagine that as they're standing there, all of the selves that they were in the past are standing behind them, and all of them are going up in this loving and beautiful transformative flame. And I would literally imagine like a flame going through my body, literally just dissolving with pure light, just dissolving my full past self. And all that was left was the truth of who I am, my most essential self. Because I know deep down that I was a person who was in control of my life. I knew deep down I was a person who had amazing relationships and was great with money. And deep down, you know that too. That's why you're so uncomfortable. That's why you're hiding from it. You know deep down that you are capable of more. You are destined for more. You sense that. So we just need to move the limiting identity that's in the way, dissolve it, move out of it, let it go, release it like a snake letting go of their skin. Because that really is what's happening. You are so many different versions of yourself throughout your life. And it's time to step into the most powerful one. And when you imagine them and you start showing up as them and you start acting as them and you start feeling as them and thinking as them, and you can even honestly say to yourself, what would my highest potential future self do right now? What would get me from where I am right now to where I want to be? And then we start really rebuilding our lives around the behaviors and actions and choices that are going to make them their strongest and happiest possible. So when it comes to self-care, from someone who truly, legitimately takes a bubble bath every night and has genuinely no issue with treating oneself to the luxuries and small joys of life, we need to become the type of people who can indulge in the little joys of life for the sake of cultivating more happiness and relaxation and appreciation, but we are not turning a blind eye to the more serious issues that desperately require our attention.